Hello, I'm Tara Brabazon and welcome to the Post 20, the PhD student and supervisor relationship diagnostic. In our first section, our first 19 posts, we explored the interregnum. We explored the complicated transformational relationships in this in-between time. And we investigated work and leisure and families and life, with also a fair amount of attention to leadership and followership. And so what we've tried to do with your incredible feedback and support and ideas is we've tried to create a different way of living. And we've tried to think about a different future for us all. But during this first 5 months of the post, I've received thousands of emails from PhD students. I stopped counting at 2,700 messages from PhD students, prospective PhD students and post-PhD students. And these were and are very long emails. They're very different from the messages I received when I was Dean. These have been devastating emails, filled with anger certainly, but a lot of despair. Now, I can't walk past those messages. So our first suite of the post, the first 19 posts, explored that interregnum, the in-between time. But now, for the next 11 posts, I'm going to do an intervention in doctoral education with your help and with your support. Remember, so many of us walked through higher education, walked through PhD experiences together for 300 vlogs. But I simply can't ignore the scale of the messages that I am receiving, because the standards that we walk past are the standards that we accept. And so for this next section, the next chapter of the post, if you will, we're going to talk about what I've described as the Pernicious PhD Supervisor Project. The Pernicious PhD Supervisor Project. Now, to be honest with you, I thought, I'm 53, I thought I'd seen everything that could happen in international higher education. But the messages that I've received in the last few months have been very different. They've been from prospective PhD students frightened for the future. Most of the messages have been from current PhD students traumatized, medicated, in therapy, deeply upset. We've also got former PhD students that have either graduated or have not, who are deeply traumatized by what they experienced. We've got postdocs in appalling situations and people who have left academic life and are still trying to process what they've gone through. So this is extraordinary, extraordinary. So together, I would like us to do something about this. Okay, now this is what I would like to do. I'm going to do an introductory post this week that's offering a diagnostic for you as a PhD student, or you were a PhD student, to reflect on, to think about your relationship with your supervisor. And then we're going to assemble 10 different tropes or models, 10 different models of toxic PhD supervisors. And I'm not just going to present the problem, here is the model. I'm then also going to present 5 strategies to manage or mitigate that problematic, nay toxic supervisor. Now, as always, your comments, your community, your expertise is so valuable. And I particularly want to do a shout out because so many of our viewers are in very difficult circumstances at the moment. So I ask all the viewers out there, demonstrate the incredible care you've shown for me and so many of our colleagues, knowing that a lot of our friends, our peers, our viewers are in a bad way. So we walk together. Okay, so the 10 models of supervision that I'm about to introduce are pretty interesting. And can I say, I'm developing this. So this is new research that through your expertise, we're going to develop together as we go. So this doesn't exist anywhere else. This is research that we are creating. So the 10 models I've configured are the shark, helicopter, battery hen farmer, the Loch Ness monster, bowerbird, parent, predator, chihuahua, flamingo, and of course the wizard, the person behind the curtain. Now, these models not only capture a particular way of doing doctoral supervision, they also capture a particular way of being an academic. I think they also capture a particular way of being human. But each of them provide a lens into contemporary higher education. Now, I've tested these models on every single email I've received. And remember, we are in the thousands. So here are the models, and I have tested them quant. Can I say Jamie Quinton? And I also listed the 50 worst human beings we've met in international higher education. Remember, Jamie's from physics, so the experimental sciences. I'm from the high humanities. We listed the 50 worst humans we've ever worked with or known, and those people are also able to slot very easily into these models. So I've demonstrated qual and quant that these categories are not only sound, but productive. And they're productive not only to understand PhD supervision, but the damage that is being done by supervisors in our universities. Okay, big statement, I know. And therefore it is important right at the start that I acknowledge all the incredible supervisors and PhD advisors out there. The brilliant, astonishing, inspirational, amazing human beings who very rarely receive any attention at all on the heavy lifting and the care and the decency and the compassion and the brilliance that they show every day. Because all the attention is on the sharks, the predators and the wizards. But also on our watch, I want us to call out the behaviour of these supervisors. I want to call it out, and I want to log it, say that it is being seen, and come up with some strategies to manage it. So before we commence these models, I wanted to start here. I wanted to start with you, because we all know that it's incredibly easy to blame other people for anything that goes wrong in our lives. And look, it is tough. When stuff is going wrong in our lives, it's really hard to look in the mirror and realise, you know what, I've done this. I've made a choice, or I've made a decision that's put me in this current mess. That takes a lot of courage to do that, right? Because you've got to go, right, I took an action and I made a mistake. This is tough to do because it's so much easier to summon real or imaginary people and explore what those people have done to us. It's much easier to blame than to reflect. So before we enter these models of pernicious PhD supervisors, I wanted to run through a diagnostic with you, for you, and about you. Whether you're about to be a PhD student, you are a PhD student, you're a postdoc, but I want you to think about yourself as a scholar, as a worker, as a human being. And what I want us to do is just sit this week, I'm going to do it too, we're going to sit this week in ourselves, and we're going to reflect on ourselves and our behaviour. So before we talk about supervisors, we need to talk about you, and we need to talk about me. So let's do this. Let's make this a week of change. So diagnostic 1. I want us to do a time and motion study of our days and our week. Now, PhD students are time poor, absolutely, and they're endlessly worried that they won't have sufficient time to complete their research and complete their degree. Now, complaints emerge about PhD supervisors not providing timely feedback or giving enough attention to students. Therefore, I need you to be honest this week. I need you for 1 week to keep an accurate time diary of your work, of your leisure, of your family commitments, what you do with your seconds, your minutes, your hours and your days. How often are you on Instagram? How much time are you spending shoe shopping on ASOS? How much time are you searching for interesting cake ideas on Pinterest? Now be honest with yourself. Look at, as a starter, your social media use. How many hours are you playing Ants Underground Kingdom, Crypt of the Necro Dancer, or of course Death Road to Canada? Before you are judging how other people spend their time, be very clear and be very honest about how you're spending your time. And if you're spending more time playing Death Road to Canada than on your thesis, then today, this week, that is the time to enact that diagnostic and change your behaviour. And that leads us to 2, be stronger than your excuses. Excuses are really easy. So start this week to monitor your language. Monitor your self-talk. Listen to yourself and watch yourself. Are you hitting the snooze on that alarm every morning? Are you not exercising? Are you delaying making difficult decisions or choices? Are you delaying undertaking particular jobs? So monitor yourself each day and for 1 week and see if you are speaking in excuses. We all do it, but when you start to speak in excuses this week, stop yourself half the way through the sentence and redirect your thoughts away from excuses to your behaviour and your choices, because you are stronger than your excuses. 3, are you self-motivated? This is a big one. Do you need other people to validate you, to say you're pretty or you're smart or you're intelligent or you're popular? What you need to do, what we all need to do, is be that self-sourcing pudding. I need you to be self-actualized. So disconnect yourself from the opinions and the views of others. Center yourself and assemble an authentic rendering of your life and your experiences, your goals, your strengths, your weaknesses, and yes, your motivations, which leads to 4, important question. Have you met your librarians? Yep. So before you complain about any PhD supervision or PhD supervisors, ask yourself, have you been going to the library enough? Have you met your librarians? Have you enrolled in courses that librarians run? Have you undertaken professional development? This matters so much because librarians, not supervisors, librarians are experts in information management. And remember, we live in an information age. As I've said so often, librarians are the Jedi Knights of our universities. So instead of complaining about what your supervisor is not doing, listen to one truth I'd like to give you now. About 1/3 of your thesis can be written with the support of a librarian alone, without any supervisor at all. That's the expertise of librarians, because they can teach you software. More importantly, they can teach you wetware. And they are the experts to enable literature reviews, systematic reviews, scoping reviews, and they can teach you the best use of Google Scholar alerts and that will change your life. And it can always ensure, when you really listen and learn from librarians, they teach you the importance of research being accountable, being transparent, and being repeatable. 5, make friends and colleagues and peers on and offline. So once you've weaned yourself off Death Road to Canada, what I'd like you to do is create structures that build new relationships, meet new colleagues, new peers. Digitisation has so many gifts. I think the most important, though, is deterritorialisation. Wherever you are in the world, wherever you are living in the world, you can meet and you can learn from other human beings. So read widely. Find and follow great scholars, great researchers on Twitter. Build new relationships beyond your lab, beyond your university. 6, oh yes, have you written down the 10 reasons why you enrolled in a PhD? Before I take on any student to supervise, it's a huge commitment for me, it's a huge commitment for the student. Before I even think about taking a student on as a supervisor, I always ask them to write down the 10 reasons why they've decided to do a PhD. Now, 1 or 2 reasons are just not enough. You know, oh, I like researching and I'd like to use doctor when I go book an air ticket. You know, there are 2 reasons, that's great. You need 10, because 2 reasons won't get you through the bad times. So go into the PhD understanding deeply what your 10 motivations are. And if you've enrolled in a PhD and you haven't done that, finish this video and then press stop and get a bit of paper and write down the 10 reasons why you are doing this. Crucial, absolutely crucial. Then put that list up in your office, so whenever anything gets rough, you can remember why you started. And if you hold on to the deep reasons why you start something, you're going to be able to finish it. 10, professional development is the key to your future. Don't put all your eggs in the supervisory basket. Full stop. If you're complaining about your supervisor, have you got off your butt and enrolled in professional development programs? And that is in your university or beyond. Short courses, longer courses are available on LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, FutureLearn, just to name a few platforms. And so many of these courses take 1 hour. LinkedIn Learning's just started this LinkedIn Learning lunchtime, so lunchtime LinkedIn Learning. So every week you can learn something new and it takes 1 hour. Freshen yourself up. Broaden yourself out. Widen your horizons. Use any cliche that you like, but I want you to gain new insights, new vistas, new information from a diversity of sources and portals and people. 8, oh yeah, this is it really. 8, do you have productive habits? Okay, so we've checked out how you're using time each day. And you've established your 10 motivations why you're doing a PhD. But that's not enough. There's so much attention these days, so many books that I endlessly read every week on motivation. But with all the attention and research on motivation, it's forgetting something. You can be motivated, but nothing happens. Motivation without change, motivation without action, motivation particularly without behavioural change, is completely useless. Work hard and commit to that work. Commit to, this changed my life, commit to creating productive patterns. When you create productive patterns, it creates momentum and you can back yourself. So make sure that you establish productivity. It is your responsibility to maintain the pattern of your daily work. Do not rely on your supervisor to push you, okay? The students that I know are in trouble and are going to get into trouble are the ones that are completely reliant on their supervisor for motivation, for the push. I see it all the time. So you're not going to complete a PhD unless you are self-motivated. And motivation means nothing unless it creates productive behaviours. 9. Be thankful for any support you receive. Complaint cultures are the sinkhole of graduate education. When students get together, they complain about the supervisors. And they lose time, and they lose focus, and they lose energy. And remember, I'm not talking here about supervisors that bully. I'm not talking about the 10 models of supervision that we're going to talk about in this series, okay? I'm talking about the simply very busy supervisor. They are overworked, they are exhausted, and they're probably fighting for their own job. And a PhD student complains that they're not getting the time that they deserve. I think it's really important that we remember how sick, how diseased our universities are at the moment. Academics are trying to protect students the best we can from the worst excesses of this diseased university. So therefore, show kindness, show compassion, and move your language from complaint to consideration, and from grievance to gratitude. 10. Recognise the joy of missing out. Okay, now I know that FOMO, fear of missing out, bubbles through text speech. But JOMA, the joy of missing out, should actually be the frame of doctoral education. There is a joy in missing out, of not being everywhere, of not doing everything and running endlessly through life. And we do this by being clear in our motivations, clear in our purpose, very clear in our idea of what is success and what are our strengths and our weaknesses. In other words, if we are centered, if we are self-aware, then we have a joy from missing out because we know what's important. As Tonya Dalton has shown, in life we only have 3 resources: time, energy, and focus. I love that. Time, energy, and focus. So productivity emerges through predictable, stable, and very simple systems. So simplify your routines. Know what is important. Know what you can control and get on with it. Make sure that you're not running your life or running your PhD with this fear of missing out. What I want you to do is live a life of passion, of focus. I want you to live a life knowing what is important. So all of our homework this week, we've got a big week. Our homework this week, before we commence our Pernicious PhD supervisor series, is to do this diagnostic on ourselves. Let's do it together. Assess our motivations, yes, but also our behaviours that come from those motivations. I want us to think about our self-language, the excuses that we tell ourselves. I want us to think about our capabilities and our competencies and how we can enable learning from librarians, but also from professional development programs. And you see, from doing those diagnostics this week, we're going to start to understand what success looks like. And we're going to be able to align our present context with our future aspirations. I wish you love, light, and peace. Tea out.